Kenny Mac did this.
Alright, yeah, because I felt like I gave you solid interview, you know? like in the introduction, it was solid. I can't give you that again, you know?
Alright. My nerves is gone.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of the Black Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Calvin. Today I have with me is Rashad Russell. Rashad Russell is a software engineer. He is a CEO of Boeiie, the Boeiie sports app. I always have a hard time. I do apologize. The Boeiie sports app. All right, take it.
So yeah, I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. Born and raised. I moved to Nashville in 2005. Following post-Katrina, Hurricane Katrina is what led me to Nashville. Like you mentioned, I'm a software engineer. And yeah, I've been coding for about 11 years and studied computer science and decided to step out as an entrepreneur and start my own endeavor. So that's in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, that's you.
Yeah.
All right. So my question is, like, you wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? And you could have went through many avenues. Like you could have went, like on your own restaurant, like talking to a twist, or you could have just went and done anything, really. Like, so what led you to tech? Like, what made you want to say, you know what, I'm doing tech?
And tech, so led me to tech. I would say through my interest in business, through my interest in entrepreneurship. This dates back to high school, a little bit even before high school. But ultimately, what led me was, back when I was 15 years old, I was interested in business. I was trying to discover what type of career I wanted to do in high school, and there was nothing exactly that fit. So I wanted to do something that kind of matched my interests, and I was always creative. I always loved to draw. I was curious about technology, played tons of video games on the Xbox, but nonetheless, I guess I kind of wanted to marry my interests, so to speak. And one thing my dad told me to be was a CEO, and I was like, what's a CEO? So I did my Googles. and got interested in business. I said, entrepreneurship, you can create anything from your own ideas, so to speak, and make a living from it. And so when I was doing my Google, I was always searching, teenage entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs. What can I do at 15, so to speak? And the one thing they had in common was it was all something tech related, whether they was being a freelance web designer. Some people was making MySpace pages and selling them, designing MySpace pages, so that dates me. Other gentlemen were making video games, so I knew it was something in tech, so I said, I need to learn how to code. And that's really what introduced me to the tech world. And then once I started learning coding, the rest was history, so to speak. So.
It's funny, you just said something, you said you was doing it back in the MySpace days, you said that dated you. And what's funny about tech, it moves so fast that, like 2 years, you be like, oh yeah, I was doing this 2 years ago, I'm old. What I'm saying? The tech moves so fast, like the time, it's just so crazy, because like, I don't really feel like MySpace was that long ago, but as far as like with tech, it's like centuries ago. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that's so crazy. But going back to you wanting to be a CEO, like you seem like you was like very focused at age 15. Like at age 15, I was thinking about girls and like trying to see what's the new dance move, what's the new song, you know what I'm saying? And when I was 15, that was back when they had, the stanky leg and all that stuff. So, all them dance moves. But what keeps you like so focused, so driven? Like it seems like nothing takes you off course. Like you're very focused. Like from other conversations we had, it just seems like nothing takes you off course. So what, are you just well disciplined or what? Like what is that, man?
Yeah, interesting in those things too is just, what really started, I guess, my drive back then is still what I'm driven on today. I would say, I really started searching for a career probably around 12 when I first came to Nashville.
That's
only because,
crazy.
so it took 3 years from 12 to 15 to find tech. But reason being, really was motivated by Katrina. After going through that experience, having everything your day is normal, then in a blink of an eye or whatever, your whole life changes. So you have to move. You completely just uproot and leave your own home. So, so through that experience, it was like, don't take life for granted,
Right.
And my family, we didn't have a lot of money, so you have to rely heavily on the government and stuff like that. So it was a little stressful time, even at 12. So at that age, it kind of woke me up to reality, so to speak, kind of made me grow up a little bit and say, if this was to happen again, I want to be prepared. I want to definitely financially at least be prepared to weather any type of storm like this and to provide for my family. And coming to Nashville, this was a bit of a culture shock too.
Oh, really?
Coming from New Orleans as well, even the school system we thought was pretty good in comparison. Just my first time staying in homes, New Orleans is an old city, staying in a home with centralized AC and stuff like that, and traveling in some of the more affluent areas around town, you see, these large houses, which I'd never seen before. And I was like, when I get older, I want to do something different. And I don't want something like a Katrina, a natural disaster, whatever, to make us vulnerable to, society, so to speak.
Right, right.
So at 12, I said, I need to find what I want to do. So, and that's what kicked it off. And I stumbled upon software engineering and entrepreneurship as emerging careers. And I love tech. I love video games. It just made sense to go that route.
Okay, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like usually like experiences like that tend to make people like more driven to certain things they want to do. So, and I can I can see that, like, Katrina was like a big deal back in like what, 06, something?
05.
05, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, coming from that, and yeah, I can definitely see that.
Definitely.
So, I also want to talk about Silicon Valley, because I know that's you had many jobs in Silicon Valley, and I look at like Silicon Valley like it's the mecca of tech hubs, because you got Google there, you got Facebook, Apple, you also got Yahoo, and that's where you worked there for a couple of years, right?
Right.
So I just want to know your like experience being at Yahoo. How was that?
Yeah, it was an eye-opening experience. Just before I landed my job there, a friend of mine, he was from the Boeiie. I went to the University of Illinois, studied computer science, but a friend of mine, he was born in Cupertino, California.
Oh, okay.
So, which is literally the heart of Silicon Valley, 5 minutes away from the Apple headquarters. So he grew up in that environment. So during the spring break, I was able to stay with his family for a week, me and another friend, and so I got to experience the Valley. And it was an eye-opening experience, a place I always wanted to visit since I got into tech and learned about it. And at my university, a lot of students, it was common culture for a lot of students during the summertime to go get internships, and the Bay Area was the hot spot at that time. So I just pretty much fell in line in that regards and really wanted to get an internship. And I already, like I said, I started coding in high school, self-taught 15, so I was already programming just websites and stuff like that. So that's the position I applied for as a front end. Actually, I didn't apply for a position. Ironically, like I said, I studied business and tech. A recruiter reached out to me from Yahoo, offering me a full-time role in college, and I was only a sophomore, and she was like, "Hey, we see your profile on LinkedIn. We want to interview you for a role." I said, "You do know I'm 19. I'm a sophomore at college." She was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "But I can take an internship."
Right.
She was like, "Yeah, we can do that then." And so that's what got me in the door. But nonetheless, Silicon Valley, like it's the mecca of tech. It's a lot of people are ambitious. A lot of people are driven. A lot of people, are career oriented. They either want to start tech companies themselves or move up the corporate ladder as engineers or become great at engineering. That's a place. It's a little weird at the same time because it's you see billboards for memes and stuff like that. You see people walking around with coding books and people dressed up like I seen a guy with a turtleneck, like he's Steve Jobs or something. Like it's an interesting place, and all the new ideas that come out of tech typically start there, and you hear about it there, and then it branches out. But it's in the air, so to speak. Like tech, kind of like country music is in Nashville,
right.
acting is in Hollywood. So yeah.
Wow, that's interesting, man. So, like being in Silicon Valley, I know it was like an eye opener for like new things, and you're saying like people had all kind of ideas there. Like that's where ideas start, you said. So I was wondering, did you ever have an idea to start your own thing in Silicon Valley? Because you do want to be an entrepreneur, and I'm thinking like you're out here in Silicon Valley with a bunch of other people who do software development. So I was wondering, like, you never thought about doing like a tech company there?
I always brainstorm ideas. At that time in my career, I was still, growing as a developer. Before I knew I wanted to take some time and really mature as a software engineer. Of course, I probably could have started some idea, let's say just an e-commerce site or something at that time, but I really wanted to take my time with the engineering portion and not rush through it. Like at that time, I was still at the university studying computer science, and my whole idea was, I was inspired by like hard engineering problems. That's why I majored in computer science instead of business. Like I told myself, if I want to start, a next tech company, say Amazon or something like that, I can kind of start on that concept right now, so to speak. It's e-commerce. Like Amazon as a company wasn't nothing new. You already had eBay and other e-commerce companies. But if I want to start something like Google or Microsoft, that's going to require a little bit more engineering prowess. And I was fascinated by those problems. I was fascinated by the new cutting edge technology at the time. And I didn't have the skills to, if I want to start quote unquote the next Google or something to start that. Because that's like Larry Page, Sergey Brin, they had to major in computer science. They had to get a PhD in computer science. That's not something you could just start at a young age, so to speak. So I just wanted to mature. That was my mindset at the time.
Okay, yeah, and you're right about that. Like you kind of gotta like have an idea of what it is. Like some companies, or some businesses, you don't really have to know too much about the business.
Right.
And tech is sort of the same, but depending on, I guess, what route you take, you kind of got to know a little something.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, anything in life, it all depends on what's your goal. Certain companies, things like Zuckerberg started, Bill Gates, they was able to start those companies at 19 and 20 years old. But there are certain companies you can't start that young just through knowledge.
Right.
Just because you have that deficiency. There are certain companies that started because someone went into a PhD program, or you had to finish computer science, so to speak. There's certain, and I didn't want to short myself, so to speak, knowledge-wise, and I really want to, learn tech. And then my mom, she on me about, you gotta get your degree. So I had to go and do that for her.
Oh man, that seems like it's all at least all black moms. Like, you better go get yourself an education,
Yeah.
Mom said the same thing. Oh man, that's funny. But Silicon Valley, that was completely different, probably from anywhere in the world, or at least in America. So coming back to Nashville, because you came back to work at Eventbrite, right? So what led you back? One thing.
The biggest thing, student loan debt. I had accrued debt, but I was conscious, like I said, from high school. I understood business. I took finance class. I understood personal finance, so I understood debt and all of that stuff. So a lot of things that I did throughout my time in university, I kind of thought about and planned ahead of time. So my goal going into university was, when I graduate, I want to pay off all my student loan debt within 5 years of graduating. And so if I was in Silicon Valley living, it would have taken me probably around 6 years to pay it off. So moving back to Nashville, did the numbers, and I was able to pay it off in a year and a half. So before I started anything, I wanted to pay off all debt, all student loan debt. So that's what I did. That was one of the main reasons, and yeah, that was the biggest reason.
That was the biggest reason.
Yeah, that was the biggest reason. I mean, if I wanted to move back to San Francisco, I could, but you know, like I like Nashville.
So you kind of fell in love with Nashville a little bit more than Silicon Valley?
I realized, I believe you can find success in any city. Like a lot of people in Silicon Valley, they come from other places. Most
right.
come from other places. They bring that talent with them to those cities. However, not to take anything away, I mean, Silicon Valley, if you want to go the route of, raising money, you got any idea around technology, their culture is just, it breeds that type of talent. So you can find investment dollars for those ideas if you want to move out there. Other people, if you want to go more bootstrap route and fund it yourself, it's not so wise to be in the Bay Area because it's super expensive. So your money is going to run down real fast. But yeah, I found like, you can find success in many different cities, and there's a lot more competition in the Bay Area too. So you notice now a lot of tech companies are moving to other cities after being in the Bay Area for so long. A lot of movement and moving Nashville as well.
Yeah. Actually, I noticed that a lot. I have a friend. She works at Alliance Bernstein, and she said all of them from New York are moving to Nashville. So she was like, some of them, like, if they ain't moving to Nashville, they have to go find another job. But it was funny because plenty of them said, I want to move to Nashville. I'm about to And that's another funny thing, like with tech, like, you can work somewhere for a year and you can just jump ship and be like, I ain't feeling this no more. I want to go do something else. And it's common. It's like, it's not, the average is like, I guess like when our parents were like growing up, it's like, you get a job, you stay there. Now, you get a job, and you can move if you want. It's just a whole different experience now.
Right.
And it's so funny when I have conversations with my parents, they don't understand that. They're like, you can just hop around. Like, that's not good for you. Like, what are you talking about? This is a new world out here. Y'all live in the past. So it's just so funny, like that, especially with tech. You can move around as much as you want. Like, not even a year. You can move in 6 months. Have you ever experienced that? Like, you ever just been at a job for a year and like decided to just up jump?
No, not for that long. I guess, during my time as an intern, I would, internships only last for the summertime. I never returned back to the same company. A lot of companies use internships as a reason to recruit. They want to recruit you and bring you back. But I wanted to go to different companies. I want to go to a large company, mid-sized tech company, startup-sized company, just to experience the cultural differences. And before I made a career choice, and so I was able to work at 3 different tech companies before finally working at my last one at Eventbrite. But I have noticed other people have, could stay at a company for a year and then leave. So I think the average career for software engineers maybe 5 years at a particular company before they decide to leave. So it's common. So I know other people who have definitely done that. No doubt.
Yeah, I know too many people. Like I ain't gonna say no names. They probably don't even want to be talked about. But yeah, one guy was like, and he's a senior level developer, so I feel like they really have like you guys, like you want to, so I really have power to like move anytime you want to. So he said he was at a company for 3 months, and he said I just didn't like it, so I left. And he got another job like within the next few weeks, and it's like, dang, that's power.
I think that's more common in your earlier years. You're still trying different companies, you're still trying different culture fit. You still don't know exactly what type of software engineer you want to specialize in, and so it's good to try to find that early in your career. And typically, more tenured software engineers, when they find a company, they're in positions where they're making decisions for the company, so to speak. And so they're an integral part within that company, and the company invests a lot in them. So there's less reason to want to leave. And plus, as you notice, working at different companies, technology, you can find a little bit of repetition in technology. It's just a different scenario. Like, building a website, you build a couple of them, after a while you start noticing a pattern. They start to look the same. It's the same old thing. So if you find a place that you really love, you really enjoy, then you stay there. But unless, so that's typically what will cause people to move. It's I want to learn something new. So this company doesn't provide it, so I want to move to a new company. Right. But once you already settled in on like what it is you want to do, people just stay at a company 10 plus years. Like you see at Microsoft, it's common at Microsoft, Apple, those companies, engineers been there for 30 years. Like they're pretty settled in on what is that they want to do. That's what they want to retire. So
I can't even imagine being at the job for 30
I'm not there yet.
Yeah. It blows my mind to think you could be somewhere for 30 years.
Right.
But I guess it's like a marriage. Like you in there for the long run.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
Speaking of apps, you made your own sports app called Boeiie.
Right.
And I'm on there. I've been on the beta system, so I'm in there talking about football mainly.
Right.
Talking about how Kyler Murray might be the next big thing.
Yeah.
Or Titans, they doing good too. So I'm in there talking about either Kyler Murray or the Titans. But I want to dig deep into it. Like, what gave you the idea of doing sports? Like, actually a sports app. Like, what made you want to be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make a sports app. Because you could have made any other app.
Right.
So what made you do sports?
I knew I wanted to start an idea. If I was starting an idea, it had to be something I was actually interested in. Okay. I have tons of ideas, and I have a notepad, I have them all written down over the years. Right. But it's hard to start a company. So if I was going to do something I was going to dedicate years to, it better be something I was interested in. And I love to talk, and I love sports. And so it only made sense to start a sports-based community, sports-based app. So that's what it was. And when I was first developing it, I didn't really know what I was building. I just said, what would I enjoy? I wanted something where I can talk to other people about common interests. And at the same time, I was learning new technical skills. So I was using it as an excuse really to increase my development skills in certain areas. And once I nailed it, there's no place where I can talk about sports. I'm on all these social media apps, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but the conversation is just general. It's about any and everything. There's no central place to talk about sports, and a lot of my friends that I'm friends on social media don't talk about it, so I feel out of place bringing it up all the time. So I decided, I want to make this place for myself, and the app just evolved over time. I was building it on and off, and after talking to other people and brainstorming on other avenues I could potentially take it to, I said, no, this is a good place to go. So and just conversations from other people just helped me settle in. Like, this is what I'm gonna focus on this
particular thing. Okay, that's what's up. Like, where do you see it now? Where do you see it going? Actually, not now, but where do you see it going? Yeah.
Hopefully, I see it being a hub for online sports conversation. So people can start their own communities or their own groups around. It could be around a team. It could be just around a particular subject matter around sports, and it could be used, to network. Obviously, if you're in the sports industry, to network with other people in that industry, to follow, say, sports journalists. I can see it really growing into, a bigger platform around sports, but that takes time, that takes growth. So right now it's just finding just a group of people who like to talk about, I guess, something I like to talk about, or finding another community who want, a place where they can dedicate, their community towards. So that's pretty much what I plan on to be. But I'm in it for the long run. I love sports, so it's not even work to me. Yeah.
Man, that's what's up, man. But what I guess what's the hardships with like creating your own app, because you're like the only person working on it, right? Mm-hmm. So what kind of hardships do you find with it right now?
Mm-hmm. I guess really it's a lot of the community building aspect of it. The marketing aspect. Software engineer, I can figure that part out. I've been doing that for a long time. So I'm always learning new things about technology, which is awesome because I can use that for my consultancy. I'm growing as an engineer, but at the same time, it's the non-technical stuff. It's how do you grow a community? How do you keep a community engaged? You have to reach out and network with people. You have to, growing an online community, that's a challenge in and of itself. So that's the biggest trick. And no matter what startup you start, you're gonna have that initial problem. How do you get those early users?
Right.
How do you keep them engaged? How do you build something that's valuable to that community compared to other platforms that they use? And so that's the problem that I'm trying to figure out right now is how do you grow a community? How do you do product development and how to incrementally grow something that I think other people would find valuable. So that's the challenging part. It's more the non-technical stuff, the non-engineering stuff that's challenging.
I totally feel you on that because I go through the same hardships too. Like with with keeping your social media, like keeping people engaged in it. Even in the Slack channel of the Black Codes, I try to make sure people are engaged. I try to make people seem like this ain't a boring place to be. I keep people excited, but something like the reviews I get back are usually good, but in my head I'm thinking they're bad because, like, okay, for instance, when I put out a question of the day, there's nobody responding that day, and then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, all right, man, I do this for y'all, like, I'm gonna stop. I ain't gonna do it no more. But then, like, when I started doing it just Monday, Wednesday, Friday, some people would hit me up like, hey, what's the question of the day? I'm like, you don't be saying that. Like, I just have people who just kind of lurk around, but they love seeing the question. So I'm like, are you either answering it in your mind, or like you trying to see what everybody else is saying? And most of the time, it's like they like to see what everybody else says. Like, so, like, I guess it's kind of like somebody who's quiet, but they love to hear the conversation. So that's why I keep at it, man, because, like, even though I don't see like the big reactions or the interactions I want, people still enjoy it. So I keep doing it, man. Just like you told me one time, you said I used to be a lurker, but I'm gonna try to start getting engaged.
I was one of those people. I was in it for several weeks. A couple of months actually, probably, before I started responding. It's funny getting those early morning, questions. I'd be like, oh, that's a good thought. Let me ponder that for the next 30 minutes. That's what people are doing. They might not be responding, but people are definitely checking it out. So,
but 30 minutes turn into hours, turn to a week, you don't hear from them.
But that's the interesting part about starting, a community based, online community is it can go any direction. You really don't have much control over where it goes. And also, you set the cultural standard for how the community behaves based on your activity. So I would say if you're posting every day, which is great, but some people, it could also create a culture of, well, we don't want to start the day off, that's his spot. That's Kelvin's. Kelvin is the morning guy. So I don't want to say nothing, that's his channel. But it's you just got to keep doing that, keep working on it. But if you can find some communities have what you call super users. So I think Reddit had those, Yelp as a community, they had those. You have individuals who really love your product at this early stage and believe in your vision, and you kind of request help from them, like, hey, I want you guys to start kicking it off so people don't rely so much on me. They think it's a communal effort, so to speak. And you see what happened in your questions and answers channel, where it's the channel where any of us can ask questions and hopefully can get help. People, that's just the culture of that channel.
It is.
So,
and I like that. Like, I like specific channels. Sometimes people, like, I feel like they take a leadership in it. Like the only channel that's not like that is the question and answer. Like everybody's in there.
Right.
But like certain channels, like the music channel, Patrick, he will always make sure like it's going. Like he'll put some music in there.
Right.
Kanisha, she makes sure the designer's channel is still active. Like, hey, I'm about to put some notes in there, and people just enjoy it. So I like that aspect of the Black Codes. Like people are taking it as a community, because that's what it really is. It's a community-based thing.
Right.
And also, it being the Black Codes, a channel full of Black engineers. Tell me about your experience with that. Like, have you ever been in a setting where it was just like nothing but Black engineers? Like, or have you always been like the unicorn, I guess?
Right. Definitely a unicorn. This is, Black Codes Group was definitely the first group I found where the pretty much all Black engineers, from Silicon Valley, here in Nashville even. There's been times I was the only Black engineer in the room, and there may be other Black workers around. Sometimes I was just the only Black worker probably, but or one of few rather, I should say.
Yeah.
But so when I heard about the group, I said I had to join it. People always ask me, how did you get it started in tech? When no one in my family was in tech. I didn't know anybody who I can look up to in this space, and I said I wanted to hear other people's experience, and like what drove other Black engineers into the tech world, because I want to hear stories that were different from my perspective. Me going to Silicon Valley is a lot different from other Black engineers here in Nashville, or me going to computer science versus boot camps, and a lot of young people, even high school, sometimes go back and speak to the high school and they ask me, how did I get involved in it? And I think hearing other people's perspective is good, because it gives me, it allows me, I guess, to relay that message, to other aspiring engineers. But yeah, like culturally, it's fitting to be involved in the channel. So yeah, I was happy to be involved.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And I'm also appreciative that you came to the Black Codes.
Yeah.
You could have been anywhere in the world, anywhere else in the world, but you're with us now.
No.
But let's get down to your own consultancy, because you're also a CEO of your own consultancy, Beyond Lights Creation. So, you're really taking on that CEO role. You got two companies. So, tell us a little bit about your consultancy, like maybe a little bit of hardships, or what are you coming to find out about, people who need questions about tech, because sometimes they got questions where it's like, that don't make sense. Cause I've ran into a few myself. Like somebody said, I want a website, but I want two, and I want them both to have the same domain name. I'm like, I don't know. What I'm saying? I don't think that's possible. But they're like, what do you mean it's not? But you try to break it down to them that certain things that they want is not possible. So have you ran into issues like that, trying to explain to somebody
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's a bit of an educational process you have to give to clients, because certain clients, they're coming from a non-technical background. So you have to educate them on that space. And so I've ran into that, but I guess that's a part of the consultancy.
Yeah.
Is you have to educate them, but at the same time you have to still try to capture the value that they're looking for, and to be able to sell them that solution. So yeah.
Man, I really want to dig deep into it, but we're kind of wrapping up right now. But I appreciate you coming in and just answering all the questions you did. This is Rashad Russell. Do you want to give any shout outs for your agencies? Just kind of give a shout out to if you want people to go somewhere like your Instagram or something.
Yeah. So for the sports app, check out Boeiie.com. That's BOEIIE.com. If you're a sports fan, love to have you join the community. Love any feedback. For my consultancy, it's Beyond Light Creations. You can visit beyondlightcreations.com to check out some of what we have, and you can reach out. And so I'm Rashad Russell. You can find me on social media. Find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com. I'm there. So yeah, that's it.
All right, man. And don't forget to follow us on the Black Dot Codes on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. And also, while you're watching this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you're feeling risque, add a comment, you know. So thank you for watching, and stick to the code.